Welcome to video 61 in series 3, and in this video I'm going to write the item Rigidbodies script. Okay, so this script is going to be responsible for setting the Rigidbodies to isKinematic, to true or false, depending on whether you've picked up the object or thrown the object. So this kind of behavior will allow you to, what you're going to write, allow you to turn any object into something that you can pick up and disable its rigid body or enable its rigid body no matter how many rigid bodies you have on it. So let me just write it, Rigidbodies, item Rigidbodies, open it up. Okay, so we'll start with private, item master, and then a public rigid body and make it an array. Rigidbodies is what I'll call it. Okay, then set initial references. I'll set up the reference to item master. Okay, and then I'll put that in on enable, set initial references. Okay, I won't need start and update. I'll get rid of those. And I'll just have here another method, check if starts on player, or check if starts in inventory. Check if starts in inventory. And then I'll have two other methods, void set isKinematic to true. That would be the case when you've picked it up. And a void set isKinematic to false. Okay, so for the first one, I will just simply go through. I'll first check if Rigidbodies.length, it's an array, is greater than 0. So is there something inside of it? If there is, then for each rigid body, I'll just call this variable our body in Rigidbodies. So go through that array, and for each item, I'll set the rigid body, well, our body dot isKinematic is equal to true. Okay, and that will allow me to turn all rigid bodies that I define to isKinematic. So you can imagine you can pick up ragdolls, so you can pick up player like enemies and so on, and you just define, you slot in all the rigid bodies from the ragdoll, and then suddenly you can pick up anything. You can absolutely pick up and throw anything with this item system, and it'll be in your inventory as well. So very powerful. Okay, and then let me just copy this over there and just simply set it to false. Okay, and checking if starts in inventory, all I'm going to do there is if transform.root.compare tag game manager references.player tag. Whoops, I didn't finish the brackets. There we go. So if the root, so this is how you know that whether this throwing block or whatever is on the player, because if the root game object, the root transform, has a tag player, it means it's on the player. Okay, so then I would set isKinematic to true to begin with, because I don't want the objects falling all over the place anymore. I want them to be still when you're holding them. Okay, and now to set the we'll subscribe to the events. So item master dot event object throw plus equal isKinematic, set it to false. Okay, so copy that over here, unsubscribe, then just add another line, and event object pickup, set isKinematic to true, copy it over. Okay, and don't forget the semicolon. Alright. Oh, whoops. What am I doing? Call it that object. That's silly me. Okay, let's grab that. Put that there. Okay, good. Okay, good. So that is the script set up. Oh, and here too, in on enable, I need to check if starts in inventory. Yeah, mustn't forget that. Okay, good. Now that looks alright. So let me go to Unity and start making use of it. So both of those items. Drag it on, item Rigidbodies, make the array size of at least something, so I'll just put in 1, And because I know there's only one rigid body attached, so now separately for each one, I'll just drag the item on. Okay, so of course if you had a game object which had multiple rigid bodies on it, such as a ragdoll, then you would just create the number of elements that you need, and then drag each one on. Okay, and this one, item 2, like that. Okay, done. So now we'll jump in. I'll jump in and hit play, and I should see when it comes into the player's hands, is kinematic should get checked. Yes, it does, and that's why it's not falling to the ground anymore. Now I can throw it properly. Okay, so that's working, but there's still a problem. You see the game objects, they interact. The one that I'm holding can still knock stuff about. Now you may want that behavior, or you may not. I don't want that behavior. I want the colliders to be disabled when you have it picked up. And of course later on I'll use layers so that you can't see, the object doesn't go inside of other game objects. So that'll be later. So in this video we've done what we needed to do, which was to pretty much set it so that the rigid bodies are enabled or disabled. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.